This session will focus on policy and regulatory frameworks as well as institutional capacities as key to deliver enabling conditions for financing climate resilient infrastructure. Improving institutional functions such as financial planning and policy, allocating resources and implementing financing is vital in this regard. Technical standards can also play an important role in facilitating financing for climate resilient infrastructure. We have with us 3 speakers today. Let me welcome them. First, Mr. Drazen Kukan, who is a Senior Urban Development and Energy Efficiency Specialist from the Division of Adaptation and Mitigation in the Green Climate Fund. Mr. Drazen leads the Global Urban Development and Energy Efficiency sector at the GCF. His work is focusing on technical reviews of concept notes and funding proposals throughout the GCF project and review cycle, delivering strategic pipeline development with a strong emphasis on the green resilient cities globally. He is also responsible for the GCF portfolio of over 30 projects at different stages of development, funding considerations and implementation, and is actively engaged in conceptual work and community of practice on de-risking structures and transformative intervention in the global urban and energy efficiency context at the GCF. So anybody who has questions on the GCF, has problem in accessing funding to GCF, he can always ask it. Also, we have Mr. Timothy Aful Komson, who is the Principal Green Growth Officer in the African Development Bank. Mr. Timothy is a Principal Green Growth Officer in the AFDB. He is coordinating the AFDB initiatives for climate resilient infrastructure development in Africa. He is also the coordinator for Green Climate Fund activities and other green finance activities in the AFDB. Before joining the AFDB, Mr. Timothy served as a senior fellow at the UN University and Institute for Natural Resources in Africa. And before that, he spent over 15 years in the private sector, working for companies as Merrill Lynch and other consultancies. And he was involved in structuring, executing, and managing sustainable investment transactions, particularly in renewable energy and energy efficiency. Last but not least, we have Mr. Bill Girling. He is senior analyst in the International Hydropower Association. He joined the IHA in 2016 as interim director of Hydropower Development Work Program, responsible for hydropower development work program across a board of range of topics. He is now continuing with IHA as a senior analyst with a primary responsibility for climate resilience and operation and maintenance work topics. So let me welcome the 3 distinguished speakers. To have a focused discussion, and I know that we are running very short on time, we have identified 4 guiding questions for the discussions. I think the guiding questions will be put on the screen. Let me go through them very quickly. The first one relates to how should current national regulatory and policy frameworks be strengthened to ensure that new infrastructure is resilient to climate change. The second relates to the private sector and how the private sector sees the main obstacles to funding and financing climate resilient infrastructure. The third question relates to the governance actions and how can they better align international, national, and local approaches to help overcome the barriers. And the fourth and the last question relates to the potential for using private-public or public-private partnerships, PPPs, to scale up climate resilient infrastructure, which is a very important element that also I think will be very helpful in understanding the issue at hand that we're discussing since yesterday.